All right, so I'm in the car right now. I came to this coffee shop, grabbed me a little cold brew. We don't have any lattes, bro. That's for faggots, man. Yeah, I was grabbing a cold brew, and my parents are actually selling their house soon, or they're putting their house on the market, so there's somebody viewing the house. I really have nothing to do, so I was like, all right, let me do something productive, and something came to mind yesterday talking about an identity shift, right? And like, I know one of the things that changed for me when I decided to, shift my identity and start aligning my habits with the person and the characteristics of the person that would have the life I want for myself. I had to make it super clear and intentional of who I wanted to become, where I wanted to go. And once I did that, what were the habits, right? What was the thought process of a person who would have that life I want? And I think that's the thing. When you see, I know for me before, when I was hanging around, losers or people who wanted to just be average or wanted to be like everybody else, right? They didn't feel that sense of urgency or of like discomfort, anxiety that I felt, is because in their head, their habits, right? Smoking, playing video games, chasing mid bitches all day, right? That was who they saw themselves to be, right? They didn't see anything more for themselves. So when they were in the process of doing those habits, it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't like killing them inside. That's all they saw, and that's all they viewed for themselves. That's all they sought out, right? So their goal in life wasn't to become a multi-millionaire, travel the world, become the best version of themselves, get a high-value woman, or not high-value woman, but get a bad bitch, or like, get the GT3 pet house. Like, they didn't want to accomplish that wasn't even possible for them. Like, I remember I used to sit down with one of my homeboys, and like, I would try to convince him, like, we'd try to talk about like our ambitions and goals and whatnot, and he was like, yeah, man, I want a 350Z. His dream car was a fucking Nissan, bro, a 350Z, right? And it's not about the material shit, that doesn't matter, but that's such a fucking low goal. Like, you could get that working a normal 9 to 5. Where's the like adversity? Where's the pain? Where's the sacrifice? You don't really separate yourself by going for a fucking Nissan 350Z, or where the fuck is 370Z, whatever it was, a project car. That's his goal, right? And I also noticed when I was around my old friend group and whatnot, right? It's been about like a year and 3 months since I've completely cut them off, really cut everybody off, because it's kind of hard to find people who align with where you want to go in life, especially if it's, you're ambitious. Everybody now is indoctrinated into believing, university, yeah, I'm getting a finance degree, that's going to help me get to where I want. They got psyoped. And there's a lot of societal pressure, bro. Your parents are going to be like, oh, what are you doing? They're not going to believe in online money. Most people, they don't understand, right, the older generation. So yeah, it's a lot of pressures you got to deal with, and if you're going to let somebody else who doesn't have the life you want decide your life, it's probably not cut out for you, right? But back to what I was saying about my old friend group. Yeah, so we used to have conversations, and like, I used to realize, bro, like, they were okay where they're at, like, they were okay being where they're at. And for me, I was sitting there trying to convince them, like, hey man, we could actually become successful, right? And then it was like, there's these moments, there was so many light bulb moments for me when I was like, bro, I have to cut them off, I have to cut them off. Or even video games, like, that might be something that was tied to your identity, and you're like, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's more of a removal process when you're trying to change in life. At least for me, when I was trying to change my habits and cut off the things that were distracting me, I just wrote down what was most of my time going towards that wasn't helping me get where I want. Video games, the friend group. I was already watching podcasts and whatnot, so that's kind of also what was a little different. Like, I was always open to hearing how other people got to where I wanted to get in life. Like, had the penthouses, the cars, and whatnot at like 25. I'm like, because I knew this is what was crazy. I knew that it was an input thing, right? They were inputting a series of actions and habits over a long period of time that got them where they are. And that's why they have the life they have. I never was like coped and like, they got lucky. Because no, I would watch their routines and like their inputs. I know they're not sitting there playing Fortnite for 6 hours and they didn't just end up with a GT3, right? Unless they're like a trust fund baby or some shit. No, they learned the craft, right? A high income skill, worked at it for 3-4 years. Then they had their breakthrough and you only see the peak of the fucking mountain. And then everybody calls it luck. But nobody wants to see you in your room grinding for years, cutting like with nobody there, right? That's ugly, but that's what it was. I always knew it wasn't luck. They didn't just get there. I knew it was an input, right? Because I actually believe what you input is what you get out of life. And I tried to explain that to my friends one night, and I went over there, and they were like, nah. Like, I saw the envy. They were like, bro, what is wrong with this nigga, bro? Excuse my language. They were like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, nah, you can't succeed. I was like, and this was like after I had a light bulb moment of watching a podcast, and I wanted to give them that information so we could like, hey, like, we need to make some changes. And they're like, nah. I could see their face. I'm like, bro, like, it doesn't click for them. And I remember that was the night, and I took a couple times after that for me to really like actually jump off the boat and be like, all right, I'm never talking to these dudes again. And I remember I gave my friend, because I was trying to start a clothing brand at that time, and I handed him off a sample that I had, but that I never ended up like releasing. And I dapped them up, and that was the last time I ever talked to them. And they never knew, right? But, and after that, it's crazy. That's when I started to make the most progress. The 3 months after that, didn't miss a day in the gym. I was eating clean. I was listening to podcasts. I was obsessed, bro. That was like, I started to fall in love with improving myself, bro. And that was more fulfilling than any of the pleasure or the smoking or the chasing bitches, which I really didn't get too much into, because around the time I got a car, I had a girlfriend. And it was like a series of events that happened. It's like every dude goes through the same shit. You end up breaking with your girl, and then you have a moment, and you realize, man, you're just not the man that's capable of being able to handle a relationship at that time. And then you realize you need to make some changes. And it's a series of events. But it's crazy how God works. Puts lessons there for you to learn from it. And you just have to be in the mind state to actually respond to it, right? To learn from it. But back to the identity thing, bro. You have to shift your identity, bro. If you're a pothead, it's because you're okay with being a pothead because you identify yourself to be a pothead. Once you shift that identity and be like, hey, I want to be somebody who's in shape, who's eating clean, who's listening to podcasts, who's obsessed with improving himself, who's reading books, who's stretching, meditating, take care of his body, trying to become the best version of himself. Smoking weed is not gonna feed it's not a positive correlation to your brain, because in your brain it goes against who you align yourself to be, right? Who you see yourself to be. So for me, if I'm sitting there scrolling on TikTok, right, and I'm not perfect, but there'll be like, it will never be more than like 5 minutes. And my TikTok is actually like, the only things that are on there are like reels, motivation reels for the most part. So, but if I see myself scrolling TikTok and I know that's not going to get me where I want, I cut it off quick. I'm like, oh shit, let me get back to do something. Like, let me do something. This is wasting time. Because that doesn't align with who I know I need to be to get where I want in life. So that's why the identity shift. And the hard things, like when I wake up or go on a run, those things, yes, are uncomfortable. But that actually, I gain pleasure from that in my mind because I'm doing something that aligns with the man I want to become, right? So that's the power of it, because something that's deemed as uncomfortable to somebody else whose identity doesn't align with that thing, when you do something difficult that's maybe uncomfortable, maybe you have to sacrifice 3 years of putting your head down and just refining a craft to get where you want, that's going to feel fulfilling because you know that aligns with your vision and your goal. So that's why that's the first thing, right? Identity shift. Make it clear, what life do you want? What car do you want? What girl do you want? What type of son do you want to be? What type of figure do you want to be for the people you care about? Make that super clear, and then write down what habits, create a routine, right? So build a system that's gonna help you get where you want, so you don't have to waste mental capital on what to do, the next task to do, right? And it doesn't need to necessarily be on time blocks, but have non-negotiables that if these don't get complete, you don't go to sleep, right? Now you have a system, a machine that will direct you towards your goals and the life you desire for yourself. And eventually you will effortlessly, start to feel like you're making progress. I don't know, like, I always feel like I'm not doing enough, but I see that as a positive because I don't want to feel like, I don't want to get comfortable. I don't want, like, that's disgusting, bro. At some point, I think successful people, this is something I've seen, you have to be, like, insecure in some way. Like, you have to be realistic. The most successful people are the most insecure. They have $5 million. They have a seven-figure business, and they're like, oh, but no, they still feel guilty wasting time or enjoying their time. Or when they see somebody else successful, they're like, oh, I got to go harder. Like, there's more to do. Because they're not content. They're always thinking they're not doing enough. So I think you push harder when you're running away from something rather than when you're moving towards something, right? So you have to find your why. Find something that's your pain point. Something that you fear, right? If you fear being, like for me, I fear being average more than the discomfort of trying to be, successful or being the 1% financially or live this life that I want. So, they say you don't change into the pain of staying the same. I always the pain to change, right? So I'd rather go through the pain of changing into becoming the man I need to become to live the life I want than stay the same. Stagnancy is the most disgusting feeling. Literally feeling like you're dying, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. And that's exactly how I felt. So shift your identity. If you're not happy with your current circumstances, understand that it's because it's a result of your identity and your habits over a long period of time. If you want a different life, change your habits, change who you identified yourself as. And your brain subconsciously will gain gratification through doing the hard things like going to the gym, reading, delaying, saying no to yourself when you want to text that bitch that doesn't give a fuck about you. When you're trying to go click on that website and you're not supposed to be watching, like, bro, isn't that, like, I had somebody in my Discord, he was like, oh, I'm struggling with, masturbation. I'm like, bro, like, I was there at one point, but bro, now thinking back, like, I could never be that loser again, bro. Like, you don't have enough willpower to not grab your meat, bro. Like, that is the most fucking lamest shit ever. And like, until you shift your identity, be like, bro, I can never be that fucking loser, that fucking faggot that just doesn't have enough willpower to not click on a fucking porn site, right? That's ran by some fucking satanic fucking liberals, some weirdos. Bro, you're getting indoctrinated. Like, if you don't have the willpower to do that, bro, you should be disgusted with yourself, bro. Like, fine, you can go talk to girl, like, in real life. Go to the gym and walk up to the baddest girl and talk to her, bro. Stop being a bit, like, do that. But if you don't have willpower or some courage, bro, what the fuck? You're just sitting there behind the screen jerking off like a faggot. You have to actually zoom out and look at your life. Look at yourself from the outside view and be like, I'm a fucking loser, right? And that's the only time change will actually come. When you zoom out, look at yourself from an outside view and the habits that are keeping you back, that you keep falling back into, that your mind is telling you, hey, bro, stop doing this. And that, the result of that is depression. Depression is just your mind telling you need to change, right? And people overly glorify depression like, oh, no, I felt like shit when I wasn't doing the things I needed to do to get where I wanted, because I know it wasn't in line with where I wanted to get in life. Now, there's some people, if you feel happy smoking weed, being average, being a fucking loser, jerking off at girls that would fucking spit on you, she would actually spit on you, bro. Like, she saw you, she would spit on you and laugh, bro. And you're giving your energy, your sexual energy as a man is the strongest thing. That's what creates something. That's what you used to go to the gym and build muscle. That's what you used to put energy into your fucking craft, bro. And you're giving that to some soul-sucking Duder. That's tough, bro. You need to, that shit is, yeah, you need to look at yourself like, what the fuck am I doing? And pain is the biggest motivator. That's what will snap change into you, just like that. So look at yourself, write down, who do you want to be, make it clear, and start working towards that. That's at least what helped me. And start slow. Like, you don't need to build this long list of habits, like a fucking Ashton Hall morning routine. Like, you don't need that, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That shit's kind of gay. But, you know, have something in the morning that gets you going. Like, you know, if you meditate 5 minutes, or do some push-ups, or go to the gym in the morning, you know, like something that starts your day, something positive. Because all of it's a frequency, right? If you start yourself in the winning frequency for the day, you carry out that momentum. But yeah, so make it, when you're just beginning, like, I had no discipline. So if you're going from no discipline to trying to be a disciplined individual, don't start with like 6 days a week gym, Sunday run 4 miles. Like, no. Like, okay, do 3 days a week, hit the gym consistently, eat clean. Once you get that down, build on top of it. And that's what helped me, because I would get overwhelmed when I'm going 0 to 1. You can't just wake up a new person, right? So yeah, that's at least what helped me. I just wanted to make the video because this is the type of videos I would watch. If you guys know, like, John Mark Stevenson, who'd have the car talks. And, like, I've went through this process, you know, and I'm still working on refining my craft and trading. That's why I'm doing the market recaps, and, you know, hoping that next year, well, I know in the next year or two, you know, I will be funded, and I will be making money, and I will be making at least $10K a month. At least, you know, at least, right? That's a bottom barrel. But, yeah, so if I can help somebody out, maybe it connects with somebody, great. You know, it's a good use of my time. This is the videos I used to love and watch when I was at work. I'd have this in my ear, like, listening to it at work. So, yeah, but I'll probably start doing these on the weekend, because, and it has to be authentic, because this is, like, something that came to mind, and I thought of it, and I was sitting in the car. I was like, hey, this is the perfect time to film the video. So, yeah, it'll probably be every weekend or something like that. I'll do, like, a psychology video or something. Maybe it connects with somebody who's in the same phase. Because, man, yeah, bro, we're blessed to have the internet now. Like, we could connect with people who are going through the same similar situations, and it shows you, bro, you're not the only person going through, you know, tough times in life, or trying to change things for yourself in life. Bro, you're not getting, like, fucking, you're not the lucky one out, or like that individual, you know, like, no, everybody has hardships. So that gives you a good feeling, like, bro, you're not going through this alone. Everybody is, who's trying to do something for themselves and not be average and a fucking loser for the rest of their life. So, yeah, hopefully next week I'll come to something. I'll have something in mind. I'll start making these on the average, and, yeah, it's trying to connect with people as much as possible. But, yeah, I'll be back Monday with another recap. Today the market was closed, so I couldn't trade. And I didn't even know why I didn't see it on Forex Factory. But, yeah, something that came to mind, and, yeah, I'll be back Monday with the recap. Y'all take it easy.